Testing. Sounds good.
Justin, yeah, you've been sounding really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We finally haven't figured it out.
Roll.
Rebel religion in the news.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is Rebel Religion in the News, where we take news that's happening in our society and see how it relates to our relationship with God. And that certainly applied this week. And we're going to talk. We've been talking all week about what happened on Sunday with the memorial service for the assassinated Charlie Kirk. Really, Christianity took center stage, unlike anything that I've ever seen in my lifetime. I mean, there was, Billy Graham had his big rallies, but back then, I think it's fair to say that we didn't have the same type of ability to see it like we do now, because of the mass media that we live in today. I'm Jerry O'Lennon, Alfredo Romero, Rock of Life Fellowship, and Bishop Peter Hansen of St. Augustine Anglican Church. Just to give you, we haven't had a chance to talk to the bishop since Sunday's memorial service in Glendale, Arizona. How did you see it when you watched it or certain clips of it?
Well, I expected it to be, a very, very well-run event. It was long. What was it, like 5 hours?
It was long.
It was long. I would imagine you're getting pretty sore up there in the stands in a practical manner. But there were a lot of people who wanted to show their support and their presence there. And they're very important people, and they wanted to share the fact. What you hear from every single one of these interesting world figures is they say, Charlie was my friend.
Yeah.
And that's the word that they use. And I don't think it's just an accommodation. They are literally speaking for truth. And he was friends and close to a lot of very, very influential and important people. And he was an influence to them, like Billy Graham you mentioned. Mm-hmm. Billy Graham was known to so many presidents, and he was a confidant, and he advised them, and he gave them the Jesus bit, to all their problems. And Charlie did that as well. And he was very accessible, and he was very human. But I think the the most poignant speech, and the one that I had to listen to most closely, was Erica's.
Sure.
Because, and that was a very, a wonderful display of the flowering, beautiful picture of a Christian marriage here in widowhood. And she's giving us an inside look at the home life and their support for each other and the relationship. I'm sure it's going to be shot at by all the people who are against a traditional marriage,
No, yeah.
where a woman considers the husband the head of the marriage, and that he's the spiritual head and leads and protects and all that kind of stuff, that they want to go phooey.
Christians, even the really devout Christians, still struggle with the idea of someone being able to forgive something or someone for something so heinous. It's easy to forgive somebody for maybe a small matter, a small tort. Maybe somebody says something negative about you behind your back, and somebody comes and apologizes. I feel really bad. Yeah, that's easy to forgive. I think people have a very difficult time, especially non-believers, but even believers too, about how you can forgive somebody who did something like this.
Well, what does forgiveness mean here? And a lot of people get it wrong. That they think I'm going to level the scales, or that there's going to be no justice now, or I'm going to let the guy out of prison and let him walk. That's not what's being asked of her right now. And I have seen it where somebody rushes to that point too quickly. The pastor who says the day of the killing, you've got to forgive him. Well, that's not. I really don't like that.
Yeah.
Don't take and beat your religion over somebody else's head who's had a trauma. Let them go through it.
Yeah.
But when they come to stasis, they're finally to the place where it's what is. Then they're going to have a choice to make, whether they're going to live in a constant black turmoil of this was unfair and you did it and I'm going to get you, or I've got to let this matter go emotionally.
In some ways, is giving the forgiveness more of doing something for herself as opposed to him, or both?
Yeah,
Well,
no, I'm sorry. I
yeah,
was just going
go.
to say that in my life, when I forgave people that I had offense over, and boy, that was my life. Man, somebody just did some one little thing to me. I felt like I was stabbed in the back. You're dead to me, and I would just totally write him out of my life. I was
Yeah,
horrible.
your vendettas were horrible.
Yeah, I was the mafia. Yeah, you're dead to me. That's what I would do. And when I had mentioned earlier, I called a bunch of people when I really came to the realization that unforgiveness was really hurting me. I was the one restless, sleepless nights and staring in anxiety. I can't believe it. I'm crying and I'm hurt. Meanwhile, the other people, they don't even think about it. So forgiveness, really, a big part of it is releasing that burden from ourselves.
It's opening the jail door and letting yourself out.
Yeah.
You know, trying to vengeance is poisoning yourself and hoping the other guy dies.
Right.
You know, that's foolish. But you don't do it as a favor to you. It's just that if you'll recognize that dynamic, you'll stop trying to justify all that anger and bitterness, and say, "This is not helping me." You know,
Right.
I can also let the other guy know that I forgive him.
It-
You look
it's-
at John Paul II when he was shot. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And he forgave the guy who shot him. Now, he didn't die from the gun who shot him. Well, he sure could have. But he forgave him in person. And the guy didn't know what to do. I mean, it was like, what is this?
But that took a few years, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, what strikes me about Erica Kirk is that she has given forgiveness 12 days. I guess it was about 10 days after the event occurred, after her husband was massacred.
Yeah.
12 days.
12 days. Yeah.
12 days. And I'm just wondering, do you think maybe that was too soon?
Oh no, actually, like you said earlier, just because she is obeying Jesus and forgiving those that persecute us, doesn't release the young man from the justice of the penalty for his sin. And the thing about it, somebody came up to me the day after Charlie Kirk was shot and goes, "Do you think Erica, his wife, will ever forgive him?" And I said, "Well, let her go through the stages of grief, the shock, you know, the disbelief, the anger, ego. Let her, she'll get to forgiveness." And after this speech that she gave, I got an email from the person that said, "Yeah, she did it right."
One of the most interesting and talked about speeches was the president's speech. And yes, these are his words. Charlie did not hate his opponents. He wanted the best for them. That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent, and I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Erica. And so that's an understandable feeling. And I didn't take it as a lot of people did that Trump was exposing. I think he was kind of showing sort of self-deprecation and saying that I can't be like that. Maybe if I'm around you more, I could learn to be like that.
Yes.
That's how I took it.
That's
be-
what I
that'd
thought.
be fair.
That's the statement that maybe if I'm around you more, I can be. That's what we should focus on. It kind of shows his journey to faith. Anyway.
Yeah, what we're treated to in this president is a clear window into his soul all the time. He's telling us where he is at.
You know,
We don't have to guess.
Yes, and it's almost like you're following his journey. I mean, you're obviously, the two of you and other ministers who come on here, your belief system is pretty much in cement at this point. You've gone through everything that probably President Trump has gone through and understand each stage of his growth as a Christian. But you're right. I like how you said that. We're basically watching a man go from when he first ran in 2016. He was asked, "When you prayed, you ever pray for forgiveness?" And his response,
I
I don't sin. I haven't done anything wrong. I've done nothing wrong. I have no reason to pray and ask for forgiveness. That's where he was in 2016.
Yeah.
And here we are 8 years later. It's fascinating to watch his journey as a Christian, because it is a window into, I think, how all of us have gone through the different stages of what it is to be a Christian.
Oh, yeah.
Christian.
It's a metamorphosis.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish could be instantaneous when somebody gives their life to God. Boom.
Yeah.
But I know we are a new creation, and I know, like, my personal journey, it took me years to get to the point where I felt I've completely surrendered to God. It took me, I think I was about 41, 38, 39, 40. Just, I remember walking up into a service, and I just walked up to the cross, laid down, and says, I'm done. I'm done leading my own life. I'm ruining it. I'm ruining people around me, Lord. Just, take me. Go ahead. Have all of me. And it was life-changing. Life-changing.
I can't get over Marco Rubio. I mean, he sounds like one of our other guests this week, Pastor Brendan DeForest, had said it was almost like he was quoting the Nicene Creed. And he goes on to say, sin entered the world and separated us from our Creator. So God took on the form of a man and came down and lived among us. And he suffered like men and he died like a man. But on the third day, he rose unlike any mortal man. He's preaching. And it's hard to believe that this type of it was like a theological sermon in many ways.
It's wonderful.
It was it's hard to believe that this happened in the United States in the here and now.
And the passion that he delivered it with was a very preacher-like. But that's okay. That's what we need to hear. And I mentioned earlier, I've met, when he was a senator, I met Marco Rubio at a seminar for couples in Hawaii. It was a Christian seminar. And I was stating that his faith is legitimate. It's real. We had a couple of really nice conversations. My wife just said, leave him alone already. But he approached me because we had very similar shirts. It was interesting. And I do have a picture I will send you.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, he was a very nice guy. And his wife is beautiful, very kind. And I was very impressed by him.
I think the question you need to ask him, was he having marital problems at the time? Is that what?
No. It was done by Greg Laurie, and it was also, we met him as well. But it was also put on by Gary Chapman, the one that wrote the.
I'm teasing. Of course, I'm teasing.
No, but it was my wife and I that were there for counseling.
Okay.
No, it wasn't. It was. I tell you, we had a great time. He's very genuine. I was impressed by him. So I'm not surprised God's placed him where he's at right
Christianity
now.
is not embarrassed to be Christianity this week.
Yes, that's what's nice.
And we're out in the open and declaring what it is that we believe. We don't have to say, excuse me for this, but
And by the way, there's nothing wrong with marital counseling, even if there's nothing wrong in your marriage, because like a car, every once in a while you need a tune-up. And so marital counseling is good, even for the best of couples, right?
absolutely.
All right, we're going to step aside. We're going to talk about vengeance and what is our role here on earth. And when God says vengeance is mine, what exactly does he mean? Welcome back to the show. We're with Bishop Peter Hansen of St. Augustine Anglican Church. They're located in downtown Chico on Salem Street. They have a 10 o'clock service time. Look them up online, St. Augustine Anglican Church. There has been so much talk, and we hear so many times people say, and I've heard this over and over again, Jesus does say, pray for those who persecute you. And there's also, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. My question is maybe very naive, but that's the role I play on this show, okay?
Yeah.
I am the naivete, okay? What does it mean when we say vengeance is the Lord's? Is he referring to the person who does wrong will suffer either in this world or in his kingdom by not being in his kingdom? What is he referring to, Bishop?
Well, there was a real, talk about metamorphosis, there was a real change in the justice system in ancient world from the time before a covenant with Israel. And basically, the way you settled an injustice, say, your guys came out and they killed my servant girl. So I go in and I kill all your servant girls, just to show you to stop that, and you better not even think that again. Escalation, show of superior force. It was all muscle, basically. Then God introduced an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a life for a life, which was not a thing to raise us up to try to gain vengeance, but to limit the retribution that people would have toward one another, trying to stop you from ever daring to do such a thing again.
So is vengeance an escalation of getting even?
It can be, yes.
Doing more than just so.
Right.
So when we say it sounds bad to use the term getting even, but God is not opposed, and maybe I'm not putting the right words. God is not opposed to someone getting even with someone.
Well, God's not done with the metamorphosis yet. You know,
Okay.
we have that evening of things, or this settling. You gore my ox, well, I'll take one of your oxes. You know, so and then we're even. You stop the vendetta. You cut it out. But Jesus came along and said, "Forgive your enemies. Forgive those who have a debt to you. Let it go. Love them. Love your enemies." I mean, that he set the bar so extremely better and higher than that. Now, I don't think that creates injustice. I don't think that we're supposed to say, you know,
The alleged murder of
Yeah.
Charlie Kirk.
yeah, exactly. Let's put it in context. Just let him go. You can forgive him from your heart and still want the justice system to process, because that's all of society has received an injury when something unjust like that takes place. All of society. That's, I think, something that we don't regard. We look at the guy who did it, and we don't say it's got to be, you got a debt to society. Society has been, when an injustice is done and we don't do anything about it, the whole of the society hurts from that, because now the bar is lowered as far as what you can do wrong. This guy who had, 20 some odd offenses against him and keep getting let out of the jail, finally proves he shouldn't have been given so leniency when he takes out a knife and stabs that Ukrainian woman in the train.
Yeah.
And kills her, showing you need to lock me up, basically. And society was not doing its job and saying, oh, this guy is criminally insane. He needs to be off the street. He needs to be processed. He needs to face some justice, because and society was multiply injured by what he did.
It is always the old saying, you've turned a burden into a blessing, and I think it just seems that a lot of people feel that is what's happened here. One of the fire and brimstone speech was provided by Stephen Miller, perhaps no surprise, a Jewish man who came out and said, "You have no idea what you've unleashed, and we are coming after you. We are going to, it was hellfire and brimstone, and it got a lot of applause. It was anger, but it was righteous anger. Is that okay? Righteous anger is certainly acceptable.
It
Yes?
has its place. Jesus had righteous anger, but his righteous anger was, whenever he expressed it as anger, it was always against the religious hierarchy, who was offending and opposing God and God's people.
Yeah, I always thought about, Jesus looking at the temple and seeing that they've dishonored God by making it, a den of thieves and money changers, cheating people and stuff like that. And I always thought, if I was there at that moment, like around the door, and I see Jesus coming back after he fashioned a whip, walking towards that, I just imagine what the look on his face was.
If you haven't seen it, you should maybe look at some of what Stephen Miller said. I'll quote a little bit of what he said. You thought you could kill Charlie Kirk. You have made him immortal. Now millions will carry on his legacy. You cannot defeat us. You cannot slow us. You cannot stop us. You cannot deter us. We will carry Charlie and Erica in our heart every single day and fight that much harder because of what you did to us. You have no idea the dragon you have awakened.
Wow. That's to the point.
And when you watch it, you're like, whoa.
Well, in her first statement, that's what she said too. You have no idea what you've unleashed. And by looking at 100,000 people in the stadium and about 250,000 people around that area that were tracked, I believe it's right. I mean, we had a prayer service last night at the church, and our prayer director got up there and said, "I have never talked more about Jesus." He goes, "I used to have a problem being evangelist, but now I'm more inspired to even talk about people even more." She was a great prayer warrior, but she just had troubles. Hey, can I talk to you about Jesus? You know, but now I've talked more about, and somebody else famous said that too. I'm trying to think. Do you remember who that was at the place? Was it Rubio or somebody? I think it was
remember.
Rubio. No, I think it was Rubio. Says I've talked more about my faith in the last 11 days than ever.
Oh, it was J.D. Vance. The vice
J.D.
president
Vance,
said that.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Right.
Thank you, J.D. Vance.
He says, I've talked more about Jesus in the last 2 days than I have in the last 10 years, something like that.
Yes, and 2 nights ago I had a talk with a young man that I've been talking with for a couple of years now, and he's basically an agnostic. Or he knows there's something that doesn't. And we had this great talk about the Lord for like about an hour, and that might not have happened. So whatever the enemy meant for evil, God can turn into good. So amen.
Yeah.
But there are so many there are stories here in our community in Butte County of young people wanting to start a Turning Point USA chapter here in our area. There's many of them that are starting to do that as well, and I think that's what Stephen Miller was talking about. You have pretty strong. You have no idea the dragon you have awakened. That's that's pretty aggressive. But is it?
I might have said spirit. You know, I might have said that.
His poetic reference may be not mine.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Erica said, you haven't stopped us. It's just created a revival,
Right.
and this is going to be 10 times as strong as it ever was.
Yeah, I agree. And people are more bold than they ever was. They have shirts that said, "I am Charlie," and I know Jesus says we should be like him, follow him. But what they're really saying is his boldness for evangelism, his stance on the Bible, his I know compromise on the Word of God. That's what they mean. We should be like that.
And so far, it doesn't seem to me that we've overdone it with Charlie and trying to make him a holy figure. And I think Christians need to be careful not to do that. And I don't think they've done that thus far. I think they've maintained that the focus is on Christ and the message.
Well, I think the contrasts that some commentaries have made with the George Floyd response, that that dozens of people get murdered and cop cars get overturned and hundreds of cops are injured and 10,000 buildings are burnt down because this one criminal in the act of committing a crime is detained by the police and he dies in their custody. Whether or not that was done by the force of the police officer is still in question, but he was certainly on fentanyl and dying of it probably, and why? But whether that was an unjust arrest or unjust detainment or not, the guy died. So, all right, so one death here at Charlie Kirk. Nobody's died as a result. There's been no riots. There have been no bloodshed. No building was set on fire. Nothing negative has happened. People are declaring their faith and their support of Charlie, and that's it. I think, behold, if you're looking for a response after a tragedy, here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the saying that God works in mysterious ways, there are those who say that this was something that God wanted to have happen for a reason.
He permitted it.
He permitted it. Well, that's a good way of putting it.
He doesn't create evil, but he allows it. He allows the freedom
For his glory.
for his glory, and
Absolutely.
he can turn all circumstances into his will.
I've seen enough of Charlie that if he was told he had to sacrifice his life so that thousands would turn their lives over to Christ, I'd assume, like most of us, hopefully, we would say, okay. And even though we don't understand it, and it's very sad for his wife and his children, we need to pray for them as much as we can. That somebody said, I try to remember who did it, but yes, there's going to be a great family reunion someday.
All right. I want to thank Bishop Peter Hansen of St. Augustine Anglican Church. If you're watching our podcast, you can see the location is over on Salem Street, 10 o'clock service time in downtown Chico. Bishop, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And thank you for joining us, everybody, here on Rebel Religion in the News. We'll talk to you next time. Take good care. So long. God bless us all.